Have you ever wondered how you can improve your drops and make them sound more professional? That's what we're going to cover today in this video. I'm going to show you my top 5 tips to get your drops sounding better instantly. Now, the first thing I want to go over is structure. What is the best way to structure your drops? So let's say this drop is 32 bars long. If we halve that, we get 2 16 bars. If we halve that again, we get 2 8 bars. And then if we just look at one 8-bar section, we can divide this up into 4 2 bars. We get the first 2 bars of A, the second 2 bars of B, the next 2 bars A again, and then the next 2 bars C. Now let's look at an example of how this works and how we can structure our tracks based off this. On the screen here, you can see I've got 8 bars of drop. I've got A for the first 2 bars, then B, then A, then C. Now you'll start with A, and this is where you'll get all the ideas for your drop down, and you'll just create the first 2 bars, and it will sound like this. You'll then duplicate all this into B, so currently it's just A, and then you'll make some slight adjustments. And in this case, I've just changed this bass pitch here. You'll then copy A, the first 2 bars, to here, and change nothing. This will stay the same. You'll then copy everything from A to C, and then you'll make some bigger adjustments. So in this case, I've created a transition section. So I've changed the drums, I've added a break sound, and I've changed the bass, I've added a respace, and it sounds like this. So altogether, we get something that sounds like this. So what do I suggest you do going forwards? I suggest all the drops you make from now on follow this A-B-A-C method. And then once you start getting really good at it, you learn how to make these structured drops. You can then start expanding into other types because there's more types than just A-B-A-C. This is just a great starting point to learn fully how to structure drops and how to make them sound really professional. You can then move on once you've learned this properly. Sound selection is really important to making good drops. You need to be able to pick good sounds, which is the hardest part. Then you need to be able to create good groove within your sounds, especially in the drums and then the basses. You then need good processing on your sounds. So if you pick the right drum, you typically don't really need that much processing on. But for basses and things like that, you need some further post-processing to make them sound polished and professional. Then you need all the sounds to be able to work together cohesively to sound good together, which is probably the hardest part to get right. Let's start by listening to some drums where I haven't put much thought into them. I've just sort of whacked them all together and hoped for the best. You can tell the individual sounds don't really sound very polished. There's not much groove going on. They're a bit robotic, and there's a lot of reverb as well on some of them. Now let's compare this to some drums where I've put a lot more thought into them. You can hear each sample very cleanly. The groove is spot on. There's no crazy reverb as well. It just sounds a lot better and a lot cleaner. Now, what do I recommend you do to improve your sound selection? This is on everything, basses as well. Best thing you can do is get a reference track from a really reliable source, such as a massive artist that you know track will have gone through lots of checking before being released. So like the biggest name in your genre normally does the trick. Get that in your DAW, stem separate the drums out if you can, and then just look at what they do and then try and imitate it. And then as you imitate it, you can then bring your own sound into it and get them sounding professional. And then just make sure you're focusing on each sound you're picking. You're not putting any crazy reverb on like I did for that first example. You're thinking about the groove of the track as well. And you're thinking about how the drums merge with the basses and how they combine to create a nice sounding track. It's really important to have sidechain on your drop. Let's take a look at an example here. So I've got a bass signal running through here, and then I've got a kick and a snare playing here. So the bass is playing, and then the kick hits and the bass ducks so the kick can play. The bass keeps playing and then the snare hits, so the bass ducks again, and then the bass keeps playing. So essentially what happens is the bass volume goes down so the kick can play in place of where the bass is playing. Same with the snare. And this is really important because you can get your overall track louder and your kick and snare will sound really clean in the mix. Let's take a look at an example now. Let's listen to a track where no sidechain is applied. Now let's turn the sidechain back on. So I had it on the vocals and I had it on the kick and the snare. And let's listen to it now. First of all, the track sounds way more clean. You can push the levels of the track louder, so you can get a louder mix overall. You can hear the kick very clearly because the bass is ducking when the kick's playing, and the snare as well, the bass is ducking when the snare's playing. Same with the vocals, you can like lower them down when the kick's playing, so you can get overall loudness increased, and it just sounds way better. When the kick and the snare are in the forefront of the mix, your track's going to sound better because those two drums are like the main part of the mix that you want to be able to hear clearly. So for drum and bass, I recommend sidechaining your kick, sidechaining your snare. And then for other genres, always sidechain your kick. That's essential. But if you're using like a clap, you may not need to sidechain it if you're just using high end of a clap. If there's low end in the clap, then sidechain that as well. It just depends on the track. Each track is going to be different, of course. And if you're a bit unsure on how to sidechain, I use Kickstart 2. I'll leave a video on how to watch it and I'll put it in the description as well if you want to check that out if you're a bit confused. So in your drops, you have the drums playing and you have the basses playing. But on top of that, you need some additional micro variation. So I like to have a lot of one-shot effects in my drop, just playing in little spots where there's little gaps, and that keeps the track interesting. I like to add percussion elements in as well. And these combine with the drums to make them sound more groovy. So like at little end sections, I might put little break sounds in, for example, or I might put some like toms in, or I might put like a cowbell in or something like that. And then finally, vocal chops or vocal shouts. So if you've got some good vocal chops, you can put them in throughout the track to add some variation, to add some groove, keep it interesting. End of sections as well, you can add like vocal shouts and that keeps it interesting. Let's take a look at an example though, so you can understand it better. I'm going to show you the same drop twice, and I want you to listen carefully to see if you can hear the difference between the two. So let's listen to this version first. Now let's listen to this version. So I'm hoping you heard the difference there. So if we have a look into the project, you'll see there's a lot more little bits in the track that's keeping it moving, keeping the groove going, and just adding to the track and adding like variation. So the first thing is this hat here. There's not just one hat, there's two hats. Then there's like this percussion here. So I'll play each one for you. We've got this like little percussion bit on the end here, adding some groove and transition. We've got this little effect sound here, filling in the gap here. We've got this like riser sound here. We've got like a whoosh sound here. And then in the vocal section, we've got this like chant sound. We've got this other riser here. We've got this like break sound. Another little bit here. And then we've got like this vocal shout here. And it goes back into the... So there's lots of little things happening in the background to keep the track interesting, to keep the track moving, to keep the listener's ears interested. So what I want you to do is listen to your track and think, are there any gaps? Is the groove not really working in this section? And then think, can I add some one-shot effects in to keep it interesting? Can I add some more percussion sounds? Can I add some vocal chops? Anything like that to keep the track varied and interesting. But don't overdo it either. Don't go crazy. You don't want too many sounds because it can get too busy. You've got to hit the right spot, which is quite hard to do, but I believe in you. You can do it. Now let's take a look at two examples of drops. The first one, we've got the build up here, playing, and then the drop hits, but the level of the sound is the same. The second example, the sound gradually gets quieter and quieter and quieter, and then boom, it goes back up for the drop. Which drop do you think is going to hit harder, is going to make you pull a more disgusting bass face? Surely option 2. And that's what you need to focus on when making your drops as well. The more you can build up the track and then have it slam in your face, the harder it's going to hit, the more filthy it's going to sound. Let's compare two build-up and drops. Here's the first one. Now let's listen to this drop. Which drop hits harder to you? When we really focus on a pre-drop, at least for one bar, we can create space, and then we can create more energy when the drop hits. So we still have things going on, but you can see there's considerably less stuff going on in this pre-drop area. So we call this pre-drop like this. And you can see it's busy, 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 and then there's a big gap with only a couple of bits going on. So all we have is a pre-fill, like a percussion pre-fill, and then the vocal. And that's it. Everything else has cut out. So I recommend doing something similar to this in all your drops. Sometimes it can be longer. One of my tracks coming out soon has a 2-bar pre-drop, but most of the time it's just 1 bar. So start with 1 bar and then build upon that once you've learned that fully. If you enjoyed this video, why not watch this video here where I take an old drop of mine and I transform it into a brand new drop, improved, remastered 7 years later. And you can learn more about how to improve your music and get it sounding more professional.